But the weather, on the other hand, I can't.
We got off the crows pretty quick.
I can't readily explain the weather without mentioning Agnes Sampson.
Who?
Have you guys heard of the North Berwick witch trials?
No.
I didn't want to do this.
Hey, Jay, you've been talking about it all day.
Lord knows I didn't. Thank you. Lord knows I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to say this, but the North Berwick witch trials actually influenced Billy Shakespeare to write Macbeth.
Oh.
Wait, what?
Yep.
What about Tempest? Wouldn't it be more appropriate if it was Tempest, I guess?
No, you're wrong.
Damn it.
I honestly don't know, but let me. Yes, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It's a bitterly cold November in the year 1589. James VI, King of Scotland, is sailing to Oslo, Norway, to marry Princess Anne, sister of Christian IV, King of Denmark. So if you're already confused, that's okay. Anne of Denmark is originally on her way to Scotland to marry King James VI, but her fleet is so badly battered by waves and storms, there's practically no way to continue. They have to stop in Norway. Some ships almost capsized, and that would have killed a bunch of people. So, King James VI, being the thirsty son of a bitch he is, heads out with an envoy of 300 and figures he'll just marry Princess Anne right there in Denmark, because Norway was a Danish territory at the time. But on their return to Scotland many weeks later, they're also greeted by only the nastiest roiling seas, high winds, treacherous thunderstorms. This thing's crazy. Splashing at the masts of the ship.
How do we know how much time was between the two different voyages, like hers and his? Like, was it in the same couple months, or was it like within a year?
So King James started off in November 1589 to May 1st, 1590.
Okay, so yeah.
So it's a half year.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are again forced to hold up in Norway for multiple days. They're forced to spend several weeks there, actually, before they can even attempt another trip home back to Scotland. And because King James, at this point, is king shit of Fuck Mountain, there is a huge Danish fleet, like colors, flying, trumpeters, and they are making sure that these newlyweds get back to Scotland. I think I know why these storms want us dead, says the Danish admiral to King James. Get this. I insulted a high-ranking official in Copenhagen, and I bet his damned dirty wife cursed us. So naturally, a man blames a woman for something he can't understand, like something as crazy and trivial as the weather. A man is blaming a woman. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, and
this event ends up turning into the opening salvo of a wide-ranging witch hunt, including noble families and citizens alike. So, if a curse followed Princess Anne from Denmark, how do we end up with the North Berwick witch trials of Scotland?
You're supposed to tell us. That's why you have the sheet of paper.
Well,
It's on the sheet of paper.
Denmark, in the late 16th century, was head over heels with the ideas of black arts, and witches were really easy to pin it on.
Head over heels with the black arts.
I can see that.
Yes.
They blamed everything. Literally, the weather.
Right.
They blamed everything on
Stub your toe, fucking goddamn witches and goblins every time tripping me.
Some kind of like international cabal of witches. Actually, between the years 1540 and 1693, those years are known as the Burning Years.
The Burning Years.
Does anyone want to take a guess as to why?
That's when they came up with Burning Man?
Because they burned a bunch of people.
Why?
Because they're witches.
Do you know how many people? Do you want to guess?
A bunch, evidently. You said that's
500.
500? That's a good guess.
204.
68.
The accusation of witchcraft led to the persecution and burning of over 1,300 women.
Oh my
Son of a
God.
bitch!
And some men. And this
Holy
is not
shit.
even...
Just some.
What?
This is
Yeah, right?
not even... Like,
Holy shit.
Germany, Portugal, and Spain each burned 30,000.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And we talk about the Salem witch trials like they
19.
mean shit.
19.
Yeah.
19 dead, 200 accused, and then like, you know, like kind of like we said, kind of fucked
So
up.
there you go. Scotland
No.
Scotland has something...
They know how to do the wish shit
yep.
over in Europe.
They got that on lock.
So when Princess Anne, of course, was coming from Denmark to Scotland, When her ship first encountered that terrible storm, they knew it had to be witchcraft.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
It's obvious.
Although the Danish Minister of Finance ended up being accused of not sufficiently equipping the ship to withstand any sort of violent storm. Now, this was November 1589. It was so badly equipped, it was going to capsize by any storm. Nevertheless, he made a local woman admit to damming the ship by conjuring small devils
Little ones.
in empty barrels,
Wait, what?
and then had them climb all the way up the keel of the ship and then summon a storm.
Wait a minute. Wait
Little
a minute.
gremlins. They got the gremlins in the barrels.
Summoned baby devils
Yes.
Baby devils.
in barrels.
Empty barrels.
Not only that, but
Artisanal devils.
the fucking
The barrels are fancy, too.
Craft devils.
The Danish Minister of Finance made a local woman say she actually put devils into a barrel and caused the storm.
The fact that that they go witches first and then properly outfitted ship from the financier, like,
Yep.
was their, like, progression of blame. They're like, witches, goddamn witches, totally capsized it. Larry, did you actually put the stormproof shit on the boat? Or was that, like, no, I didn't do that. Goddamn witches got me again. Like, they
I kept
fucked up the
asking you,
paperwork.
you kept saying, I said, I don't know.
I'm looking out for
witches.
witches. It's the burning years. What the fuck am I supposed to do?
So
Sell your own ship.
she was burned at the stake. The Minister of Finance rests well, and King James VI was intrigued and immediately ordered a review in Scotland to see how many people he could kill for the pretense of evil. So if Princess Anne was cursed in Denmark, there must have been people who cursed his ship in Scotland to get him from Norway back home, because they were met with terrible storms too.
Yeah.
So
Transitive property of witches.
That's the first time in this story where I said, okay, well, that's one country. Now we are comparing it to Scotland. And of course, this story takes place in Scotland. So that's when King James said, okay, hold up. If they could do that in Denmark, then I think they were witches against me. And of course, this was a very Christian-based, region at the time. So that brings us to the terribly sad story of Agnes Sampson. Agnes Sampson, how she became associated with the North Berwick trials is shady, totally shady, but it revolves around a young servant woman named Gilly Duncan. Gilly Duncan had the best potions and tinctures so pure she can seemingly cure any disease, any whooping cough, any fever. But when her employer presses her as to whether or not she dabbles in witchcraft, because witchcraft is known to be a healer's background.
Herbalists and all that.
That's also a standard interview question, right? Do you dabble in witchcraft?
I wouldn't say I dabble.
I'm more of a journeyman.
That's interesting, because that's exactly what Gilly said. She said, no, I do not dabble in witchcraft. She refuses.
Oh.
Absolutely not. But then her devil's mark is found on her neck.
Uh-oh.
Do you know what that is?
No.
I'm a little scared because I have one.
A devil or witch's mark is a blue or red scrape mark at the back of the neck, which denotes evil, of course. It's the last incantation. It's a ritualization from the satanic cult. So they find a birthmark.
Burn him!
They find a birthmark. As she's found out, Gilly immediately admits. She comes clean and says, well, here's the thing. Me and about 50 other people, we regularly meet in cemeteries. We dig up corpses.
Drink a little wine.
The decaying remains we tie to cats.
What?
We throw the cats into the ocean.
What?
No.
And we create one hell of a good time with bad weather. So they are digging up Christian rite burials and defouling them by tying them to cats and then killing the cats.
Whoa. Whatever she gets, she deserves.
Yeah.
Throwing cats in the ocean?
Yeah.
That's
she can
terrible.
burn her now.
Well, Gilly Duncan points to Agnes Sampson. She's the eldest of the community. She is a midwife to much of the community, probably 90%. And herself, she's a healer. She is a person who goes door to door, sees how she can help the sick and the needy. Well, she's named as the eldest of the coven. So Agnes Sampson is taken to Holyrood Palace in Edinburgh, That's actually where the British monarch vacations, at least a week every year. And at first, she strictly denies any involvement, because of course. But if King James VI can find a purported devil's mark on her body, because this is now the pretense in Denmark, he can pretty much, without a shadow of a doubt, implicate her in this witch cover-up. Agnes can be very easily found out, and then the king can destroy her.
The cat killer? Good.
No, this is
the cat throw her into the ocean. We don't know what happened to the cat. They're resourceful animals.
Well, Gilly Duncan was the one who said that they would...
Oh, Gilly. Okay.
Yeah.
Gilly.
So, Agnes Sampson is just... She's implicated at this time. So the entire tribunal, which is overseen by King James VI, tortures her. But she says nothing. She admits to nothing. They then order her to strip bare in front of men and have all of her hair removed, shaved, all of it from her body, head to toe. They place a rope around her neck, tie it to the back of the wall, and they spread her legs wide open. Oh. And a group of strangers examines her bare, naked body. And there, near her privates, is a small mark, which can only be explained as a sign from the devil.
Yeah, thank you. It's so obvious.
That's where he gets you.
Under an intense torture session, she readily agrees to admitting anything the authorities would want to hear from her. Obviously, I would do the same thing. If I'm already that violated, okay, yes, I'm a fucking witch, right?
Yeah,
fuck off.
Make the pain stop.
Yes, please. Yes, she was a witch. Yes, she can confirm. Yes, all others named by Duncan, yes, are in fact, yes, witches, yes. King James VI is unimpressed, however. He says, there's no way. There's no way this person who has helped out this community could know anything about this. Something so fucking evil that she would want a stranger killed. The King of Scotland, no less, meeting his princess for the first time to be queen. There's no way. He adamantly refuses. He says, I do not accept this. And he does not believe her. So Agnes Sampson takes the king aside and verbatim, every word, every sentence spoken between Princess Anne and himself, King James VI, on their wedding altar, just a half year earlier, she speaks back to him. In real time.
Interesting.
Princess Anne, do you take this? And then all of their vows in exact intimacy and secrecy that King James VI swears to God, huddles backwards and says, only the devil can possibly interfere so much in a mortal's life as to know so much information hundreds of miles away like that. She is now guilty as fuck. King James VI is forever scarred, and he says, take her to Castle Hill. Agnes Sampson is taken there. She is garroted, strangled, and burned at the stake alive for witchcraft. King James VI says to his deathbed, that was the most haunted moment of his entire life. He ends up writing the book Demonology in 1597, just 5 years after this, in which William Shakespeare bases his Macbeth play, which was first performed in 1606, just a couple years after. It was one of the last Shakespeare plays performed before he died, I think in 1616. To this day, the ghost of Agnes Sampson still haunts Holyrood Palace, the official residence of the British monarch in Edinburgh, Scotland. There she paces, there she roams, there she stands bald, naked, from head to toe, still trembling for all eternity, with the cursed devil's mark.
Wow.
Okay. You can only see the devil's mark if you really get in there.
And you got to be really
nice.
nice.
She walks up to you naked, you're like, wait, hold on. Wait, okay, move your leg a little bit. Is that devil's mark right there?
Jeez.
Okay, so that's all well and good.